Hello everyone, welcome back to Comment Made Easy, and I hope you all are doing very well. Before we begin, let me remind my dear students that the contents of this channel are only to supplement your knowledge, not to replace the regular online and offline classes in your institution. So please attend your classes and do not miss them. Also, if you like our contents, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the videos and share these videos with your friends, with your batchmates, with your juniors. Also, if you are a teacher, then with your students. Please follow our Facebook page and the link will be given in the description. In the field of medical science, we often come across these three terminologies: impairment, disability and handicap. And sometimes these words are used interchangeably, but they are not always the same. In fact, they are quite different. In today's video, we shall learn about these three words and how they are different from each other. In our previous video, where we discussed the natural history of disease, we knew that after being exposed to a pathogen or a risk factor, a person develops a disease, which can be a communicable disease or a non-communicable disease. The disease progresses further and then it terminates. Termination can be in the form of spontaneous recovery, or if it is serious, there can be death. And sometimes disability can also develop. So if we look at the sequence of events which starts with the disease and ends with being handicapped, the sequence is as follows: disease, then we have the impairment, then the disability develops, and ultimately we have the handicap. I tell my students to remember this acronym DIDH to remember the sequence. DIDH stands for disease, impairment, disability and handicap. Now we shall try to learn the individual words so that we can understand the difference between them. First is disease. We have already discussed a lot about disease, so I am not going into details about what disease is, what is the definition, whatever. So we, in simple word, we can say this is the pathological process and its manifestations which indicate a departure from the state of perfect health. That means the person is not in a state of perfect health. His status of health has departed from being perfect, and disease, as it means, is disease, not at ease. So this is disease. After that, we have impairment. The definitions that I am going to tell you for impairment, disability, handicap, all these definitions are given by WHO. So what is impairment? It is defined as any loss or abnormality of psychological, physiological or anatomical structure or function. So we have different psychological and physiological function in our body, and we also have the anatomical structures and their functions in our body. If there is any loss, that means absence of this structure or function, or maybe the structures or functions are there but they're abnormal. So any loss or abnormality of the structures or functions are called impairment. Some examples are given here, like loss of foot, defective vision, mental retardation, etc. Impairment can be visible or invisible. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes it may not be apparent. It can be temporary or permanent, or it can be progressive or regressive. That means it can get worse with time, or it can improve with time. So that means progressive or regressive. Also, one impairment can lead to the development of another impairment, also known as the secondary impairment. Here an example is given in case of leprosy, where we have the damage to the nerve, which is basically the primary impairment. This nerve damage can lead to plantar ulcers, and this can be considered as the secondary impairment. So this is all about impairment, where the anatomical, physiological or psychological function or structure is either absent, or if it is present, it is not normal. So any loss or abnormality of this structure and function. Next, we have disability. What is disability? Now, because of an impairment, the person who is affected may not be able to carry certain activities which is considered normal for his age and gender. So if a person cannot perform any activity which is considered appropriate or normal for his age and gender, and that is because of the presence of any impairment, then this situation is known as disability. So this inability to carry out certain activities is termed as disability. What is the definition? Any restriction or lack of ability to perform an activity in the manner or within the range considered normal for a human being. So that is the definition, and we have already explained what it means. After this, we have handicap. What is handicap? Because of disability, a person can experience certain disadvantages in life and may not be able to discharge the obligations required of him and play the role expected of him in the society, and this is known as handicap. Now, to explain this thing in simple words, every person has a role to play in the society. A person may have certain obligations to the country that he was born in. Like, if I am a doctor, I am supposed to serve the people around me. Any person who has an occupation, he is by some extent contributing to the economy of the country, and if for some reason the person loses his occupation, his job, that means the economy of the country can be affected. That may be in very minute amount, but still it exists. So that means every person has a role to play or a obligation to discharge in the community or in the society that he lives in. If we look at the definition of handicap, it says it is a disadvantage for a given individual resulting from an impairment or a disability that limits or prevents the fulfillment of a role that is normal depending on the age, gender and social and cultural factors for that individual. So this is handicap. By now you should be able to understand the differences between the three words. Impairment is when there is abnormality or loss of anatomical, physiological and psychological structure or function. Because of that, a person may not be able to perform certain activities which is normal for his age and gender, that is disability. And because of disability, the person cannot play the role or discharge the obligations which is expected of him in the society, that is handicap. If I give some examples, it will be easier to understand. So maybe a person experiences a road traffic accident which can be considered as a disease or disorder. Because of the accident, maybe he loses his feet. So this is impairment because there is loss of anatomical structure. Now if the feet are lost, the person cannot walk. So that means he cannot do something which is expected of him given his age and gender, that is disability. If the person cannot walk, he cannot go to his office, say office or working place, that means he loses his job, that is unemployment. And this is handicap because an able person is expected to work and earn for his family. So unemployment means, that means he is not doing what he is supposed to do, and the social obligations he cannot fulfill them. This is handicap. Another example I have given. So myocardial infarction, that is a disease. We know that what happens in myocardial infarction, there is necrosis of the myocardium, maybe inadequate perfusion to the myocardium. The heart cannot perform optimally, so it cannot pump adequate amount of blood. This is impairment. So there is something wrong about the anatomical structure as well as function here. Now since his heart is not working optimally, a person may not be able to perform any hard or even moderate manual activities. Say we are talking about a labor or a miner or any kind of worker who has moderate to heavy manual activity, and that is his occupation. So since he has a heart condition, he cannot be able to perform all these manual activities. So that is disability. And because of that, of course, since he cannot work, he cannot earn, and he cannot put food in the plate of his family. So that means he cannot earn his livelihood. This is being handicapped. So this is all about disease, not only disease, but we mainly focused on the three terms: impairment, disability and handicap. And I hope all of you are now clear about these concepts, these three different terminologies and how they are different from each other. With this, we conclude today's session. If you like the video, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your batchmates, juniors and friends from other colleges. We also have our Facebook page that you can follow. The link is given in the description. Take care, and we shall see you in our next video.